notably Daredevil. And next March, you'll be able to see him again on Disney Plus, reprising the role of Matt Murdoch. Let me bring out Charlie Cox for you. Yes, sir, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Hey guys, how are you? How's everyone?
So, Charlie, we're gonna start this right off the bat. I was at D23 last week.
Do I? Oh, it's gonna go right. And there's a picture of me right there.
A great picture of you.
I'd rather not look at that though. Oh no, that's even worse.
I was at D23 last week, and we saw you guys all together for the first time, like officially. How did that feel being on stage at D23, knowing that you're now officially in the MCU with the Daredevil?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was a big audience. Any of you guys were there? It was like 12,000 people on that stage, in that arena. So it was mad. Yeah, you know, it's like it's still kind of surreal to think that we've been doing this 10 years and we're still introducing a new show.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I mean, just such a gift. This character.
You know, when you first started talking to Kevin Feige, were you aware of the Save Daredevil campaign?
Yeah. So, but I thought they were lunatics. No, I didn't think that. I thought they were really passionate, beautiful, wonderful fans, and that they didn't have a chance in hell of getting the show back up and running. I mean, like, when have you ever heard that a petition, an online petition, or a campaign has actually, you know, made a difference? It's very rare that happens, and it's such credit to their passion and their resilience. Marvel, Disney listened, and here we are. So.
When you first started the Daredevil show on Netflix, did you think it would have the impact that it did? And we would be talking about this show 10 years later.
Ah, God, no.
Really?
No, I mean, I don't think you could ever, you never imagine that something you do is going to have that kind of an impact and is going to have the kind of life that it's had. I mean, as an actor, you know, like, you just hope that you get to work. You know, that's the main thing, is like, do you get to work consistently over the course of, you know, a decade of career? Like, it's just, that's, anything beyond that is gravy, as they say in the UK. So to be on a show that has had this kind of like lasting status, and for it to be just for me to have had a job for 10 years is amazing. And so yeah, no, it's like you kind of keep pinching yourself, and long may it continue.
You know, one of the things I love most about Daredevil, I was just talking to somebody else at this panel, but one of the things I loved most about Daredevil was that all of the action is in camera, and there was a lot of training that you had to go through when you first started the show. How is that different now, stepping back into the role 10 years later?
Yeah, it hurts a lot more. I've had a couple of surgeries since then. You know, so it's hard. You know, it's really hard, and the training's hard. And as you get older, it gets harder, and the recovery time is longer. I spend more time in ice baths than I did when I started doing this. But at the same time, you know, you have to be really grateful for it, because it's very rare that as an actor you get to do a lot of the physical stuff as well. You know, often most TV shows, most movies, they'll have a scene, a moment where you have to do a stunt, and it's really exciting. And for me, playing this character, I'm doing multiple sequences every episode, and that, you know, that will not. There are not many jobs like that.
Sure.
So I'm, you know, I just try and really enjoy it. I love those days. I love that aspect of the show and of the character. That I get to do that, and then the next day I show up and I'm in a coffee shop having a conversation, or I'm in a courtroom, you know, defending someone. So, you know, it's really it's so varied. So yeah, just another gift of this character.
Have any of you guys seen the show Kin, by the way?
Four of you.
First of all, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic show. I want to ask you a question about that. Is there any news on if there's going to be a season 2 released in the United States?
So they haven't released season 2 yet?
We don't have season 2 here, no.
Right. So the season 1 and 2 are on Netflix in the UK and on the BBC iPlayer. I know that the company that made it, one of the companies that made it, went bankrupt, and I know that like there's some licensing issues. I don't really know exactly what's going on there. I assume that at some point they will bring it over here. It's been a huge success in the UK and in parts of Europe. So I'm imagining that will give it a bit of momentum to get over here. It really is a tremendous show, actually, and I had such a blast making it. And it's the other end of the spectrum in terms of Daredevil. When we make Daredevil, every episode it costs a lot of money, and there's a huge amount of there's just a lot of we get to do stuff that smaller shows don't get to do, and that's a blessing. That's a gift. That's really fun. With Kin, we'd be trying to shoot the scenes of the day, and there were days where we'd lose the light, and so we couldn't get the last scene, and we just didn't have the money to put it anywhere else. So that scene then isn't in the show anymore, and then we have to make that episode work without that scene and stuff, And it's like sometimes felt like guerrilla filmmaking. But it really came out beautifully, and it's really, Peter McKenna who wrote it and showran it was just such an amazing talent. And so I hope, I'm trying to set something up with him at the moment as well. With my wife and I have a production company, and we're trying to do something with him. So that'd be really cool. But no, it was such fun to film. Yeah.
It's an incredible show, so I highly recommend it. Do you think that Matt Murdoch would defend Michael Kinsella?
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's a bad dude.
Not a great dude, yeah.
Well, he'd know he's lying all the time, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I probably wouldn't want to touch that. Interesting story, like I read these scripts during COVID, and I was just so taken in by the story. I read the first few episodes of the show, and I was just really taken by the story, and so I was like, I agreed to do it, and we went over to Dublin, and once I'd accepted the role, I started to do my research, and what I discovered was that this story is very closely based on a real ongoing crime family, like mafia feud in Dublin, in Ireland. And I was like, suddenly, like, Peter told me who my character was based on, and normally it's like historical events, right? You play someone from the past, from history. I'm reading up about this guy, I'm like, this guy's just been released from jail. He's in Dublin right now. Like, I hope he doesn't find out that I'm portraying him, and then doesn't like it, So it was really close to home.
Well, now he's a huge fan.
I hope so, man. I've never said his name publicly, so I hope
that's probably a smart one.
Yeah.
Now, back to Daredevil. We know that Frank Castle is coming back, played by John Bernthal. If Frank and Matt shared a playlist, what would be some of the songs on said playlist?
I think Frank's playlist would be very different from Matt's playlist.
Think of this.
Man, what an interesting question. I don't want to speak for John and Frank. I don't know, man. I always think of Matt listening to a lot of classical music. I always think it's kind of funny, the idea that he's in these crazy, frenetic, action, violent fight scenes that he's imagining Chopin in his head,
We saw you pop up in SheHulk in a great cameo, and Matt is having more success in his love life now than ever before.
It depends how you define success, but okay.
That's true. How do you feel about that? Can you talk about working with Tatiana Maslany?
Yeah, so I can certainly speak about Tatiana. I think she's one of the great actors of our generation. And so it's such a thrill to work with her. And she's so fun. She made everything so fun and easy, and you know, it was fun for me because having played this character for a number of years at that point, and there was an opportunity with She-Hulk when I read those scripts. I was like, well, this is a really good opportunity to have a little bit more fun with the character, and I think it's important to honor the tone of the show that you're in, not just the character. Otherwise, you know, if I'd have taken the Daredevil that I'd portrayed in the Daredevil show and put him in She-Hulk, he might have been like the butt of the joke a little bit. He was overly serious and stuff. So I thought it was A, important, but B, also kind of a good experiment to have him be a little lighthearted. You know, and also just like when in LA, just maybe just like let loose a little bit.
I love that.
So no, it was just awesome. It was just an awesome experience, and I think most people like it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, occasionally you get people who really don't like it, and like, you know, some people, especially some very religious people, don't like the walk of shame, which I think is kind of funny.
It's crazy, because Matt's a crazy religious dude. Like,
yeah, he doesn't always act like one. Yeah.
Now, you did also return in Spider-Man No Way Home. When you were called for that, and you were asked by Kevin Feige to return to the role, was there any preface of knowing that was going to be the same Matt Murdoch from the Netflix series, or was it just like, hey, we want you back as just Daredevil, any iteration of Daredevil?
So the first call that I had with him, he talked to me about Daredevil, he talked to me about Spider-Man and She-Hulk. And he talked to me in detail, like he knew that Daredevil wouldn't appear in Spider-Man. It would just be Matt Murdoch. And the She-Hulk thing, he knew would be 1, maybe 2 episodes. And then beyond that, they hadn't figured out what they wanted to do yet. So it was just like a teaser. You know, and I was just so excited about the idea of coming back. I mean, I assumed it would be a similar, you know, the same character. Otherwise, they would just maybe use someone else. You know what I mean? So I just assumed it would be the same character that I had.
Listen, brother, after he got those Save Daredevil campaign things, I don't think he can catch that role at all. Now, you also appeared in Echo, which I loved. I thought Echo was such a... we see right out of the gate that incredible fight scene.
Right.
Can you talk about working with Alakwa on that show?
Yeah, so I have very little to do on that show. If you've seen it, I mean, I think I'm in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and one of them is that fight scene. So I did not get a huge amount of time with her. She's amazing. She was a phenomenal performer and played that character beautifully. I know that Vincent speaks so highly of her and the whole experience of that show. So I hope we get some more stuff together in the future, really. You know, especially as we share the same surname.
Absolutely. Now, you know, what we saw in... Have you guys seen Echo, right? Yeah. So we see that Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, has new tech with that lens that he puts in, and he's able to kind of understand the ASL. I'm going to ask you some Born-Again questions. Hopefully you can answer some of these.
Very unlikely.
I'm going to try. Do we see Matt get any new adaptive technology in Born Again?
I'm not answering that question.
All right. Let me ask you this then. Maybe you can't answer this. If fans of Daredevil just in general, what comic storylines would you have fans read in order to prepare for Born Again, if at all?
I don't think I can answer that either. I mean, we don't follow any of the comic books in terms of story. We don't follow any of them closely, and there's a number of reasons for that. One, because if you follow a storyline closely, you become a foregone conclusion because everyone knows how it ends. Those of you who saw the leaked trailer from D23 may have noticed a couple of interesting characters come up. I didn't say it, you said it. So, the trailer's now been taken down, so I'm not going to, say anything.
I mean, it was out there.
Right, but it was out there for a minute. And I remember getting those scripts and being, the character that I'm thinking about in particular right now, I remember when I read that I mean, I read that before I started doing Daredevil in 2014. You know?
Sure.
And always thought that was a really cool storyline and such an interesting character, such an interesting dynamic between the two of them. And so that was really fun. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, there's a couple of other nice little cameos that come up.
Oh, I'm excited, I'm excited. What's been the biggest difference between working with Netflix on Daredevil and Disney? If at all, if anything?
Well, you know, the thing was when we were making the show for Netflix, the people that my bosses were Marvel.
Sure.
You know, the day-to-day was with Marvel TV, which now is kind of under the umbrella of Marvel Studios. So, you know, the folks at Netflix were such champions of us, and they were so wonderful to us and gave us that initial platform, which we'll be forever grateful for. It feels good to be, as so many people say to me at these things, welcome to the MCU.
Sure.
You know, it feels really good to be part of that whole thing, and for us to have the opportunity at least now to have more of these crossovers, which fans love, and which is, you know, when you become a big fan of the world and the characters, you get really excited by. Whereas before we didn't have, you know, other than the four of us that were doing the Netflix shows, we didn't have, all the five of us, we didn't have that opportunity as much. So, you know, and then just there's always the possibility that you can end up in a movie like I did with Spider-Man, and that's the dream.
You know, I thought it was so cool with the original Netflix Daredevil series because there was so many ties to the MCU during the course of that, in terms of, like, you know, taking place after the incident, which they call
References.
Sure.
A lot of references.
A lot of touchdowns and references.
Yeah.
Now that you're back fully, or back, a part of the MCU, what has that been like for you? Has it felt different?
Being in the Spider-Man movie felt like a big step. Just in terms of, like, a lot of people, you know, reference that when I meet them, and I guess you can't underestimate how much it means to, if these characters have history in the comics, when we then get to collide on screen, it really means a lot to the fans, and I get that. I feel that way now as well myself. So that with the Spider-Man thing is such an iconic. The idea of Matt Murdoch and Peter Parker together is just so iconic. I hope in the future we get to do some more stuff together, because it was really that really is fun. So that's the main thing. Just those opportunities can arise. You know?
Now, have you spoken with your fellow Defenders cast members about returning to the MCU at all, or any conversations at all? Because I talked to Mike just recently, and he said that he'd be interested in coming back. There's a good story to tell. Have you talked to any of them about just being part of this?
No, not really. I mean, we're friends and we see each other occasionally. But no, I mean, they've asked me about my experience. I don't know. I have no idea what Marvel is thinking or planning, so I would hate to give, you know. It would be cool,
sure,
obviously, but I have no idea.
No, there's an interesting connection that somebody pointed out to me on Twitter, I guess X now. But after Matt's father was murdered, he went to St. Agnes's orphanage. Chloe Bennett's character, Daisy Johnson, also grew up in the same orphanage.
Oh, cool.
As your character. Just for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans out there, what are the chances we could get Chloe Bennett back on one of these shows?
I can't believe you're asking me.
I'm going to ask you, because I think from your mouth to God's ears it'll happen.
Dude, wrong. I have no idea. I leave that to the grown-ups.
I love it. Let me ask you this: now that you are part of the MCU, you've shared the screen now with Peter Parker. You've shared the screen now with SheHulk and Echo. Are there any characters that you're looking forward to possibly sharing the screen with?
I shared the screen with Happy. That was really fun. I'm a huge Jon Favreau fan, so that was really cool. Again, these are the kind of the odd questions, because if I answer them and then there's like then it becomes like a story.
Sure.
And then I worry that it becomes less like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you know, you don't, you know, you with Marvel people, these companies want to do something that they want to surprise you.
Sure.
That's what entertainment's about. So maybe that's untrue, but I don't know. I always feel like I don't like. I've said it in the past, and then it becomes a news story, and I wonder, well, maybe they won't do that, you know. So look, I just am thrilled to be in the world, and any of the crossovers that can happen in the future, I'm game.
You know, another thing that you're working on, I don't know if you've recorded already, was it the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? The animated series?
I recorded that a long time ago.
Oh, really? How was that experience?
I think it was like the first thing I did as Daredevil coming back after the long 2 or 3 years where we weren't filming it. So it was, you know, it was kind of strange. I was voicing the character for this animation, but the animation wasn't complete yet. So it was kind of exciting because it was the beginning again, the first opportunity to play him, if that's the right word. But I haven't seen it, and you know, I don't know when it comes out. I don't even know that yet.
Pretty soon.
Okay, cool.
It's pretty soon. I'm excited about it too. So I know that you did a cosplay of Bluey. And I thought it was brilliant. Are there any other TV shows that you'd like to be in, just in general? Or even voice act, whether it be Bluey or anything like that?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, there's so much great content out there, isn't there? Like, I don't know.
I'm not putting Charlie on the spot here. He's like, oh man, here we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think in those terms. Like, I think that when Daredevil eventually comes to an end, I'll be excited to explore other television opportunities, but probably something original. You know, not rather than going in something that's already been done. You know.
Well, let's hope Daredevil never comes to an end, Charlie. Let's hope.
I think I'm like 60 years old, still trying to play the character.
Yeah.
Do it to your 90.
Yeah, do it till you're 90. Are you cool to take fan questions?
Yeah.
All right, do we have a mic somewhere? All right, the only request I have is one question per person, so we can try to get through as many as we can. We're going to start on this side on the left here, or I guess you're right. Yeah.
In Marvel, entities like Bast for the Wakandans, the Asgardians for the Norse, the Olympians, all these things really exist. And on the Hellstrom show from Marvel, it was revealed that Catholicism is really humanity's defense against a particular type of demon possession. Like, since Daredevil's so very heavily Catholic, like, what's the difference between this is my family's tradition or these are my values and talking to a priest who's actually faced off with like the entities that they're supposed to be defending humanity against?
Very good question.
Yeah. Sorry. Before you sit down, what's the question, Pip?
The difference in Matt Murdoch's faith from a real world, this is my family's tradition, these are my values, this is what I believe, versus the comic book level, the priest I'm talking to is like actually faced off with a demon, because that's what is actually the Marvel continuity.
Oh. Good luck, Charlie.
I don't even know how to begin now. I mean, that's such a detailed question. It's a great question. I don't know that I have the time to really get into it. I don't want to in any way belittle the question, but I just think he's a man of faith. And the great, interesting thing about Matt Murdoch, or anyone who has a deep faith, is the constant struggle with that, especially being who he is and doing what he does. I think that's one of the reasons it makes this character so compelling to watch, is because he is this like walking paradox. you know, he's constantly being pulled in two directions. Being, you know, someone who, you know, he's a lawyer who takes the law into his own hands. He's a man of faith. He believes in God's will, and then he plays God. And I just think that finding that balance is probably an impossibility for him. But therein lies the beauty of the drama. I'm not sure that that's going to really answer your question, but that's how I think of it. If that's helpful.
That was great answer. Yes, over here. What's your name?
Lori.
Hey, Lori, how are you?
I'm great, but I'm not nearly as smart as that guy, so my question is very simple.
What's my favorite color?
I'm gonna guess blue. Anyway, forgive me if I fall. You've been backing the character recently in projects such as No Way Home and SheHulk, both projects that are a lot more like lighthearted and comedic than what you're used to for Daredevil. How did it feel, or what did you do to get back in the darkness of like the standalone Daredevil show?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of that's just done for you by the nature of the writing. You know, the writing on the show has always been so tremendous and so thoughtful and deep that you kind of don't. It's a lot of it's done for you. You know, the stuff on She-Hulk and Spider-Man is just in its nature was just more lighthearted. There were more jokes. There's more levity. The thing with when we do Daredevil, a lot of it's obviously very heavy, and I do find that one thing I want to try to do where possible, even in the darkness, even in the heaviness, is to bring a bit of humor and a bit of levity, because I actually think in life, sometimes the funniest moments you have in life is when the shit hits the fan and everything's going terrible. It's just like, you just can't help but laugh, you know. And I do think that's true to the comics. That's often the case. There's a very dry, wry humor with Matt Murdoch in the comics, especially when stuff's not going well. And so it's fun to play with that when we can. There's a couple of fun scenes with myself and John where, you know, we get to have fun with each other. And it's fun. Like, it's fun when we're on set. It's fun for me to try and make John laugh because his character is also so serious at times, you know. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Charlie, I was wondering if you had the chance to play Mike Murdoch, would you do that?
His brother?
Yes.
That's just such a good idea. It's so fun. I mean, like I think any actor gets to play, you know, like the evil twin or whatever. Is like it's such fun for an actor to do that. It's not my favorite stuff in the comics, the Mike Murdoch stuff. Some of it's kind of fun, but it's not my absolute favorite because there are times where it crosses the line a little bit into the unbelievable. But sure, I mean, like if there was a fun and interesting and cool and authentic way to do that, that would be a fun storyline to touch on.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that for a second, because what is your favorite part of the comics, and is there anything from the comics you read that you haven't explored with the character that you want to?
Oh God, I mean, so much. God, there's. You know, it's been a while since I read some of this stuff, so I may be wrong. But there was a really cool. Again, this is one of those things where I'm worried to say it because maybe it means we can't do it, but. There was a really cool run. I want to say it was like Brubaker Lark. I think it came after the Bendis Medivh stuff, where Matt, I think he gets himself arrested and goes into jail to try and get to Wilson Fisk. And I remember thinking that's such a cool idea to kind of get yourself in prison so that you can get to the person you're trying to get to. But I'm a little foggy on when exactly that was and exactly how it panned out. But
well, hopefully we put that energy out there. We get to explore that.
That whole, like, for me, that whole period from 2011, kind of like those years of Bendis Medivh, Brubaker Lark, and onwards, is just like it's endlessly brilliant.
So any Daredevil fan that's recommended reading from Charlie Cox, go down to the floor and grab those books. We got a question over here?
Yes,
Hey.
so after the writers' strike, they brought in new writers, kind of completely changed the direction of Daredevil Reborn. So I'm curious, like, what did you think of the way it was originally shot, and then all the changes that the new writers brought in?
You know, I'm actually not gonna answer that just because it's more complicated. I've read online that, you know, how it's that information has been received, and it's just the truth of the matter is it was a lot more complicated than that. You know, some of the material, a lot of the material that we shot pre-strike is brilliant and is still in the show and works really well. There were just some complicating factors around what we had been tasked to do and what we were discovering was and wasn't working. So I would hate to kind of answer that and then make it sound like what people were doing before the changes were made was not good or wrong. It's more complicated than that. So I think, you know, what I will say is credit to Marvel that they looked at the episodes and could acknowledge that we could still do better, and that we maybe needed to go in a slightly different direction. And I mean, that's just, you got to count yourself so lucky to be working for a company that is willing to do that, you know, and you know, spend more money to get it right. So yeah, but where we have ended up felt really good.
Amazing. Thanks. Question over here?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, anytime you're filming, and whether it be a camera shot where maybe you're in it and there's someone else that's off screen, or if it's CGI, or if it's special effects, anytime you're having to act against something that's not actually there, it's going to be added in later, is that difficult? Is it like just people are looking goofy at reacting to stuff that's not there, or how does that work for you?
It doesn't affect me much because I'm not looking at anything anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's the hardest thing actually has got nothing to do with that. It's more just that when I have an emotional scene with another actor, it's a shame sometimes that I can't. For both of us, it's a shame that you can't use eye contact, because eye contact is so powerful, you know. And you draw, you know. I often think in real life, you often feel a lot because of what you see in the other person's eyes. You know, if someone is looking, if you're vulnerable with someone and you look at the person you're talking to and you see a bit of pity in their eyes, it makes you feel emotional. Like, it makes you feel sad or loved or whatever it is. And so, you know, that's something that is challenging to play in playing this role, but also really challenging for all the other actors who have to act opposite me, because they don't get to connect in that way, and you have to find other ways to connect with each other. A lot of body language stuff, and obviously through tone in your voice and stuff like that. But like when it comes to like acting with something or someone who isn't there, it's not that difficult. I haven't found it to be that difficult. It's never going to be as spontaneous and as alive as if you're working with the thing or the person or whatever. But sometimes that's kind of the fun of acting. You know, you have to pretend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Charlie, I do have another question for you, actually. So when you came back for She-Hulk, you obviously had a different colored costume. Was there an in-story reason for that, and what was your reaction when you first saw the yellow and dark burgundy costume?
Yeah. So when they flew me out to Los Angeles for a fitting, and I got to the place where they do the costumes, and they kind of put me in a room, and they said, "Oh, well, they'll be right with you. They're just finishing something." So I went into this room by myself, and on the wall was the drawing of the red and gold, and I was just like, oh man, So cool. But that was the first time I saw it. I was like, oh shit, that's so cool.
Yes, hi Charlie, it's lovely to see you. I wanted to ask you a question about Stardust. I've been a fan of yours ever since seeing that, like a decade ago or whatever.
I think it's almost 2 decades.
Do you perhaps have a funny, memorable, or just interesting story from that filming you'd like to share?
Okay. I mean, so you have to imagine, like, I'm 22 or 23 years old. It's one of my first jobs. I got this part in this movie, and it's like this fantasy film, and I've just been cast, so I'm really excited. And I get asked to come down to Pinewood Studios to do a rehearsal. And so I get in this car, I go to Pinewood. I think I did like a costume fitting or something, and then they said, oh, and we just want to do a rehearsal. And so some PA took me somewhere, and I remember I was sat outside, it was a long time ago, and I was young, I was smoking a cigarette, which I don't do anymore. But so I was smoking a cigarette on these steps outside, waiting for this rehearsal. And I was like, do you know what we're doing? Does anyone know what I'm doing? And they were like, oh yeah, you're going to rehearse. I think they said you're going to rehearse with Bob. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know who that is, but I guess I'll figure that out. And then around the corner comes Robert De Niro. And I was like, Bob. And then it was like my first day, and myself and Bob had a fencing rehearsal, so it's pretty bonkers.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Wait, Charlie, I have another question for you. Have you seen Deadpool Wolverine?
I've not seen it yet. I know. I'm really excited to see it. I can't wait to see it. A lot of people have told me there's a very funny Daredevil gag, not my Daredevil gag, but there's a Daredevil gag. Yeah. So I'm excited to see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question?
Hi Charlie, my name is DC. So I love Daredevil, my favorite character. So I'm in a Spider-Man team-up, kind of the first time I came across that character.
Oh, cool.
Always liked them. Not gonna ask you, if I ask you one question at the end, I'm gonna run down a couple of things since you're taking forever, Disney or whatever, to get the Born Again out. In Born Again, I wanna see the Electras, speaking of that movie, go at it. Now that you have 2 Electras in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatever, I would love to see that. Second of all, I'd love to see an episode with like Nightmare or something where Daredevil just stays in that damn hallway and just fights the whole episode. I think that, like Constantine, House of Mysteries, that'd be interesting. Here's the question for you.
I think you and this guy should be friends.
Yeah, we should be. Well, that was the question. Here's the question that's gonna dig, right? Kingpin, is he a mutant? Where did he get that strength from?
What's the question?
The question was is Kingpin a mutant, and where does he get his strength from?
Oh, you're gonna have to ask Vincent D'Onofrio. I can't speak for him. I like your ideas though. I can't promise you they're gonna happen, but there were some cool ideas in there. I hope you're happy with what you get.
TBD. All right,
Thank you for your question.
This one might be our last question. I think we're running out of time, but what do you got for us?
Hi.
Pretty strong.
Now that you're in the MCU, what actor or actress are you most looking forward to working with?
Like in this world, or just in general?
Yeah, in the MCU.
This is that willing it into existence.
Yeah, I know. You have to be so careful, haven't you? God, it's like, look. I can't, I'm not gonna say it. There's so many. There's one particular group of people that I would like to be invited to join. So read into that what you will.
I'm guessing you're talking about the Defenders.
Right.
All right, let's just do one more. We're gonna do one more. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Logan. Nice to see you again. This is just one quick question. Is there going to be a one-shot fight scene in Daredevil Born Again?
That is a great question.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. If we're gonna let's end on a high note. I think that was it. I can't wait for that. Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you guys.
I just want to give a special shout out to the Gold Ranger members, the Arctic Operators, Salima Ramirez, Stephen Heffelman, Thomas Franco, Anime King Nick, Louis Cairns, and Austin White. Thank you guys so much for your support, and if you want a video shout out like this one, sign up to be a Gold Ranger member today. Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, hit that share button, and if you can, please sign up to be a member today. We have 3 membership power-ups. We have the Gold Ranger power-up, the most popular. You get into our exclusive fan club chat group. We have fan-exclusive videos that we are adding monthly now, and you get a video shout out. Yes, folks, at the end of our videos, I will shout out your name. We also have the Quantum Ranger power up where you get monthly meetings online with me. Yes, folks, we will talk once a month on Zoom, and you can give me your ideas for future episodes. And then we have a professional package, the Dr. K power up. That is for businesses that want to tap into the platform. If you guys can, please sign up to be a member today. It is highly appreciated and it helps us keep these videos going. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Hi, we're Bulk and Skull. We have been requested by the fan club to say something funny.